So why would you use a leaf shutter instead of a focal plane? I'll tell you on today's episode of
Ask David Bergman.
Hey, welcome back to Ask David Bergman. Of course, as always, David Bergman here answering your photography questions on Adorama TV. Don't forget to go to AskDavidBergman.com, ask your own photo questions. I just might answer it right here on a future show. Today's question is from Andy S., and he asks, what are the benefits of using a leaf shutter system in outdoor flash photography, especially when trying to overpower the sun? Leaf shutters, all right, it's a great question, but before I get into that, I'm going to talk about why you would want to use flash to overpower the sun in daylight. We're here in New Jersey, and unfortunately today is an overcast gray day, but if it was bright and sunny, you'd think, oh, I've got plenty of light to make a picture, why would I use flash? Well, there's really a couple reasons why. The first one being, you might want to add in a little bit of flash just to fill in shadows on somebody's face. If the sun is overhead and it falls down on somebody, you get these really nasty shadows and it's just harsh, nasty light. So you can use some flash to do that. You could also even block the sunlight and then create your own nice, beautiful soft light on your subject if you were doing a portrait. I've done different videos about both of those topics, and I'll put links to those down below. But really what we're talking about today is the different ways to add flash in when using different kinds of cameras. Now, the thing is, most of the people are using DSLR cameras, and those have what's called a focal plane shutter. And what that means, there are two curtains inside the body, not in the lens, but inside the camera body, that move to expose the picture. And what happens is, if that moves really fast, if you're shooting at a flat, very fast shutter speed, it's going to move too fast to get the entire flash exposure in the picture. So you're going to wind up cutting off the flash, or you might have seen where you try to shoot at a faster shutter speed and your camera actually won't let you go faster than, let's say, 200 or 250th of a second. In that case, that is your maximum flash sync that you can shoot with that camera, and each camera is a little bit different. But all focal plane shutters in most DSLRs have that limitation for that very reason. So, but the challenge with that is it's actually not a huge problem in many cases. But the challenge with that is if it was a bright sunny day, let's think about some exposures. If I was photographing somebody in front of Manhattan here and I had a lot of sunlight, then I would have to, if at 100 ISO, if I was at a shutter speed, my max shutter speed, let's say 250th of a second, the corresponding aperture to get the right exposure might be around f16, maybe even f22 on a bright sunny day. Here today, because it's so overcast, we're shooting at about f8 to get the right exposure. Now, that's all fine, but the challenge with that is a couple of things. First of all, at f8, I need to get a lot more power out of my flash. So I'm probably going to need to use bigger flashes or multiple speed lights, and I'm really gonna, or if I do use one speed light, I'm gonna have to turn it up to full power. It's not gonna recycle very fast, and it's gonna eat batteries really, really quickly. So there are some other ways to combat the limitation of that max shutter speed, that max flash sync speed, but they involve things like high-speed sync or hypersync, and there are a few technologies to do that. But those all have compromises. If you use high-speed sync, you lose a lot of power from that flash. So it will work if you can get the flash in really close, and in certain scenarios, it's a great way to go. But it's really you have to give up a lot to be able to do that. So now let's talk about medium format cameras. Most of those cameras have what's called a leaf shutter, Andy, which is what you asked about. Now that shutter is not in the body, it's actually in the lens itself. And the way that opens and closes actually exposes the entire sensor all at once, way faster than that moving slit does in a focal plane shutter. So because of that, it allows you to actually shoot with flash at any shutter speed the camera will allow you to shoot at. So for example, I'm here with the Hasselblad H1D 50C, which is a medium format mirrorless. By the way, this one's from Adorama Rentals. Thank you guys for letting me use this for the video. And I've got a 90mm 3.2 lens on here. And this has a focal plane shutter. The shutter's in the lens. By the way, that's one of the reasons medium format lenses are so much more expensive than DSLR lenses, because they have shutter mechanisms inside of them instead of in the body. So here's the thing, if I expose, let's bring in Andreas, come on in here, buddy. I'll get that jacket off. I know it's cold, but it's all, you can make it. I'm wearing my jacket, but you have to take yours off for the picture. So, so we're gonna make some quick pictures here. Now, I'm already set here to expose properly for the background, which again, as I said, 100 ISO, 250, let's do it as if it was a DSLR, 250th of a second at f8. Now we can see what that's gonna look like. So let's shoot a couple frames here real quick. good. Boom, awesome. All right, so that's what f8 looks like. Now, it's exposed properly, the picture's fine, but honestly that background, those buildings in Manhattan, it's a little too in focus for me. I'd rather have it really more out of focus. I want to shoot wide open with this lens, which is 3.2. Now, to go to 3.2, I have to bump up my shutter speed, and with a DSLR with a focal plane shutter, I can't do that. I can't go any higher with my shutter speed, any faster. Luckily, because I'm using medium format and a leaf shutter, I can shoot at any shutter speed this camera will allow. So I can bump this up to 1/1600th of a second at 3.2 at the same ISO, 100 ISO. Now, one little note, gear that I'm using, I am using a Canon speedlight inside the Photek SoftLighter here behind me, and I'm triggering that flash using the PocketWizard Plus 3. I have one on the flash and one on the transmitter on the camera. So the PocketWizard is actually only rated to trigger a flash up to 500th of a second, but there's an unknown, little known feature for some reason that isn't more widely talked about in the PocketWizard that allows you to shoot at faster shutter speeds. It's called fast mode, and all you have to do, there's a couple little settings you have to change. The PocketWizard that's on the flash itself, you have to change that to HSR mode, and then you have to shoot above channel 17 and turn off all 4 groups, A, B, C, D, E. Once you do that, you'll see a little F show up on that PocketWizard, and that is fast mode and will allow you to shoot at faster shutter speeds than 500th of a second. So all I have to do, I've changed that, and I'm using that no problem. Now I'm at 3.2 at 1/1600th of a second. Let's make that change here. So I'm going to change that in the camera. Boom, boom. This is a touch screen, so I'm able to change it on here. And 3.5 and 1/1600. I also have to adjust my flash setting. I'm going to bring that down. So I'm going to turn that down to 3 stops down from where I was. So I've turned that down now 3 stops, and let's think about that for a second. I'm using a speed light. I'm able to shoot 3 stops down. That's going to give me a lot more availability of power out of this light. So I can use a speed, instead of having to use a big strobe, I can have a speed light at quarter power instead of at full power. So let's see how that looks. Andreas, come on back in here. And I'm going to shoot a couple of frames here at 3.2 so you can see the difference. There we go. I'm going to shoot one more just so you can see how that looks. Excellent. All right, so you can see how that looks at 3.2. That's really the image I wanted to make. Now that picture, I couldn't make it with those settings on a DSLR. Again, without using high-speed sync or some other technology that has a bunch of compromises in it. But with a leaf shutter inside this medium format camera, I was able to go up to 1/1600th of a second, bring my aperture wide open to 3.2 at 100 ISO, and get the picture I really wanted to do. So now let's think about this for a second. If you're able to do that and shoot, I can shoot wide open, which means I brought the power down on that speed light. I'm only using one little Canon speed light inside of this giant 60-inch SoftLighter, and I'm able to get enough power out of that thing, even at quarter power. I'm all the way down at quarter power. I don't have to shoot at full power. I don't have to bring a big studio light out here, and because I've got this thing dialed down, the batteries are going to last a lot longer. It's going to recycle a lot faster. There's so many advantages to being able to do that. So that's the reason why I would use that. Andy, thanks for asking that question. It was a great one. I hope that helps. Don't forget, if you have your own photo question, go to AskDavidBergman.com, fill out that form there. And you're already right here on Adorama TV. I hope you're a subscriber. Click the little button down below. Make sure to subscribe if you're not. There's so much great free photo content here every single week. Thanks for joining me. I'll be back here next week with another episode of Ask David Bergman.